Hiya, so today I'm going to have a look at the ring bit. Now we have our modern day equivalents to this, but these are the kinds of bits I'm going to be looking at today. So I'm going to show you one in the skull's mouth, and then I will take you through these examples of them. So here's an old ring bit. I'll show you up into the mouth. There we go, you can see that a bit better. So you see it has quite a high plate on it to keep the tongue down. And you see we have the ring here, which acts as a curb chain in effect, because you can see that as we pull the reins, you can see where it operates here. Now these were a very common kind of bit. And as I say, we have our modern day equivalents like the Dexter racing bits, for instance, that still have this actual ring under the horse's jaw here, as opposed to a curb chain. You can see how when it's activated, the bit comes up in the horse's mouth and clamps down on the lower jaw. Here's the bit without the top part of the skull, so you can see more clearly what happens there. I'll move this here, and you can take both reins. So you'll see how it will come up into the horse's mouth, and the ring will encase the lower jaw. Now this particular bit, these are very hard to actually get a maker's stamp on. Probably from the time of manufacture it wasn't quite such a usual thing to do. But this is nickel, so it would probably be from about the early 1800s, something like that. So this is the bit out of the skull now, just so you can see the actual design of it from the side and from the front. Because of this extra link here, I imagine there was probably a slobber chain there. Which really just helped to keep the bit stabilised at the bottom end of the shank, and tend to be for aesthetic reasons as well. So yes, this would have been about early 1800s. Now this is another one of our ring bits. This has got a bit more of an elaborate design. Now this is a wrought iron, hand wrought iron manufactured bit, and you'll see that it's got rather knackered now, but those rails in the centre. Now again, it would work as the last one did, so you'd have the mouth here, but this is a noseband attachment to it, so the horse would be there. So not only does it have this ring here, which I'd like to draw your attention to the underside of that, which is not very kindly finished at all, really. Fortunately, it's not making contact with the horse, but it's still a bit, you know. So it would sit like that. It would encase that lower jaw, encircle it, I should say, and it's going to put pressure onto the nose. And we have quite a strong action here. Now, the age of this bit, again, they're quite hard to find because they don't usually have a maker's stamp on them, or not a discernible one anyway. But being hand wrought iron, it could be as early as 1700s. You can see that the design of bits, while it perhaps has become less elaborate, the principles still hold true even from bits of this age. So this would have been, as I say, about 1700s. They're quite an attractive bit of kit, but probably not for the horse, you know. But I find them fascinating. You see that this chain connects here, which is probably to actually save the noseband from going too far out of place. But I imagine it was very, very restrictive to the animal that had to wear it. So this is a wrought iron ring bit, circa, very roughly, 1700s. And here we have a very ornate version. Now, as I remember, this was from Mongolia, and if I can show you up close, you'll see that you've got the patination, you've got the horses' heads here. It's very heavy, much heavier than the other bits that I've shown you. And you'll see that on the ring here, we have the beads. And again, very attractive, very decorative. However, those would be punishing on the horse's jawline, as you can probably imagine. So again, we'd have the horse's mouth here, and we have cheek pieces and our reins. Now this, again, is wrought iron. So this is from probably about early 1800s, and you can see by the decoration on it and the sheer weight of it, actually, that this was obviously for someone quite important, because no one would have gone to the expense that this would have been to produce this for just anybody in any old mule, right? So it's quite posh, but it's still just as punishing to the horse as any of the others. It just does it in a more pretty way, that's all. But it is an unusual bit to see. You can see the effort has been made to make it as attractive as possible. The patination on the rings here, the decoration on these beads here. So it's a very nice bit, not for the horse, but it is quite attractive and very weighty. As I say, if you ever wanted the horse to keep its head down, just put this on. I would imagine it would weigh it down. But so this is wrought iron, 1800s, from Mongolia. Posh people. And here's the last one for today. And in some ways, this is my favourite out of my ring bits. It's definitely handmade. You can see by the lack of symmetry everywhere that it's had quite an extensive life. Again, this is wrought iron. This would have been probably even as early as mid-1700s, could have been, right up to early 1800s. Again, there's no name on there that I can trace back. However, why this is so interesting to me is the fact that it's so small. So again, we have the mouth here, but I just want to show you. The mouthpiece, let me get the tape measure up the right way. It's 3 inches across. 3 inches. So the sort of animal that would have worn this would have been a very small pony, mule, donkey. That's how small it is. I mean, it is tiny. So when you consider that it's 3 inches across, yet we've got, I haven't measured it, but probably 4 inches going up into the mouth and encasing this jaw, you got to wonder what kind of tiny animal warranted something so bulky in its face. Now, this is very old, as I say. You can see that it's had an awful lot of wear, an awful lot of wear. You see our rings are well used, slightly bent. One of the other rings here is missing. Now, these little squares here, I'm imagining that they were actually trying to stop the horse from biting maybe one next to it, because you see they offer up a shield, and it's too low to have helped with steering. It's too low in the mouth to have had any impact for that. So I wonder if it was to stop the horse maybe biting the one that was next to it if they were in harness or working together closely. But you can see just how small that is across here. 3-inch mouthpiece. Wow. So that's quite a lot of bulk for something with such a small head. As you can see, you have your rein attachments here. We would have quite a strong leverage action here. And again, this ring is going to encircle that lower jaw and trap it onto the bit. So these are ring bits. As I say, we have our modern day equivalent, usually seen in the racing industry, and I will refer to a couple of those at the end of the video. But this is kind of the history of our bits, which I'm going to delve more into as time goes on. What's so interesting is once we went into metal in the horse's mouth, we got quite elaborate with our designs slowly but surely, because we decided that the horse needed more control than our previous materials, which were in some cases bone, rope, even wood. So once metal was used in the horse's mouth, this is where the designs really started to get quite elaborate. And indeed, I think it's a shame that humans did that, because as a result it opened up a whole world of design that we could do, so we did it. And I'm not sure that something like this in the mouth of a horse, particularly one with a 3-inch mouth, I don't know if that's fair. However, that's what we have. So this wrought iron, antique for sure, and some little pony or little donkey had a mighty big job with that in their mouth. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe. I need to get my algorithms up, so any engagement I really thank you for. It's a slow world, this YouTube business, but I am plugging on nonetheless. I've got some videos in the pipeline that I think some of you will enjoy, so be sure to look out for those. One of which is on nosebands, and one of which will be how to actually tell if the bit is right for your horse's mouth in terms of your horse's mouth's conformation. I do not work how most people work, so it would be very, very nice to show you how I ascertain what the horse can accommodate and what it can't. So I'm just waiting on someone to come and film me, because I've only got one pair of hands, right? So as soon as I've got that sorted, look out for that video as well. But in the meantime, like and subscribe, and please, please, if you are a horse lover, please watch my special on the Grand National 2025. But for now, I will see you next time, and thanks for joining me. Bye now.